Nothing about this feels right.
Captain America. You ever ask yourself, who's playing who?
Come and get me!
No, God! No, God, please, no! 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 No!
Hello again. Essay here. Who is Martin Goldman? Well, if you're familiar with comic books, you probably already know who he is. Yeah, he was the guy who created Timely Comics. And you say, what? Yeah, it was back in the 1930s. And Timely Comics was basically a company that made comic books. Indeed, one of their first ones came out, I think, 1939. And you say, so what? Well, Mr. Goodman, who ran a pretty tight ship, he was trying to bring to the comic book business, especially considering that DC, was all the rage at the time. They had Superman, Wonder Woman, Batman, etc. And Mr. Goodman, he had an idea. Actually, his wife had an idea. So she asked him to hire her cousin, Stanley Lieber. And you say, so what? Well, Stanley Lieber was originally hired to be an office assistant. You say, so what? I'm getting to that part. Well, Lieber had to take a little time off to fight the Germans during World War II. But when he came back, he was given a position to actually start writing comics under his pen name, Stan Lee. Get it now? And yet, despite Stan Lee's efforts, along with his writing buddy, Jack Kirby, they basically brought Timely to great heights, especially by the 1960s. Yep. Indeed, anyone who's familiar with the Hulk, the X-Men, Fantastic Four, and of course, Spider-Man, knows what happened next. Oh yeah, old Stan Lee and Jack Kirby, really did a job for the magazine. And of course, some of you who are total comic book fanatics say I don't have to go through the whole the entire roster, but you're familiar with Iron Man, Ant-Man, Daredevil, Black Panther, Doctor Strange, Captain Marvel, even Silver Surfer, and all the rest. And yet, the company wasn't just satisfied, making comic books. They got into TV and movies. Indeed, the first time Marvel ever ended up on TV was in 1966 with Marvel Superheroes. Yeah, it was a regular TV show. I think it came out on syndication. And for me personally, as a kid, I watched the original Fantastic Four cartoon, which came, and the original Spider-Man cartoon that came out in '67. And indeed, the Spider-Man cartoon, believe me, that thing wasn't for kids. Indeed, that show was probably listed as the first one of the first prime time animated shows. Yeah, you can look it up. It keeps coming on ABC. And yet, Marvel wasn't sitting on its laurels. Then they started getting into movies. Oh yeah, absolutely. And in fact, people may not remember this, but the very first Marvel film was Howard the Duck. And you say, what? True. You can look it up. And I didn't watch Howard the Duck, but I do remember Eber and Siskel ragging on it. Said it was weird, crazy, strange, and just generally unfathomable. And I'm thinking, yeah, well, what can you say? Those two brothers weren't in the comic books. And of course, some of you smart people out there, you're familiar with Blade, you know. Yep. And of course, X-Men, and then finally the damn Sam Raimi Spider-Man. Now, of course, that doesn't mean that Marvel is hitting it out of the park every time. Yeah, people remember their version of Daredevil. Yeah, that Ben Affleck. Remember that one? Yeah, I remember that one. And of course, I know people at Marvel wish they could forget that one, but whatever. And yet, the whole concept of the MCU, I think, didn't really formulate at first. Why? Well, business. I mean, think about it. During this time period, Spider-Man and Incredible Hulk, and even the X-Men, no, these were some of the lead characters in the comic books. And yet, the damn company had sold the rights to these comic books to various different studios. I mean, Columbia, Sony Pictures, they had Spider-Man, Blade, and Blade was controlled by New Line Cinema, and the Punisher was controlled by Artisan, and of course, 20th Century Fox, they had the X-Men. And then, are you not surprised that Iron Man was the first film in the MCU? It wasn't an accident. Nope. It was just that when they went down the list of all the various Marvel Comics characters, he was the only one that whose rights hadn't been sold to anyone. So there you go. And yet, old Stan Lee, he had this idea, this concept, to basically, have all these individual films based on the characters, and then have them all coalesce together into the Avengers. And before his death, he actually wet nursed that concept into reality. But old Stan Lee ain't with us no more. Nope, long gone. Hey, nothing lasts forever. Neither do people. But this video is not about the history of Marvel Comics or even the MCU. Nope. This video is about one particular film in the MCU. Now, I'm going to show you a little snippet of a video by Critical Drinker. And let's just say this. Critical Drinker, he's a bit of a wild and crazy guy. Oh, yeah. That's probably why he doesn't show his face on camera for the most part. Yeah, he probably break the camera lens, but whatever. And he's going to give you a little nitty-gritty on this one particular Marvel Cinematic Universe film. Okay, are you ready? Here we go.
At one point near the end of Brave New World, Sam Wilson uses Captain America's shield, Ant-Man's helmet, and Falcon's wings made from Black Panther's vibranium to fight a not-so-incredible Red Hulk. And so, for the purposes of this review, I'm going to refer to him as Captain Black Ant Falcon Man from now on. Partly because there's only ever going to be one Captain America for me, and that's Steve Rogers, but mostly because I can't think of a more fitting metaphor for what this movie is. A jumbled mishmash of different ideas and and storylines ripped off from other, better Marvel characters and films. A movie that's clearly been hacked to pieces and reassembled more times than Frankenstein's monster, complete with all the boring, played-out tropes you'd expect from an MCU that's been drifting rudderless for the past 5 years, a bunch of characters and subplots that go absolutely nowhere, and that doesn't seem to know what it is, and more importantly, why it even exists. And having spent 2 hours slogging my way through it, I can't really tell you either. In short, Captain Black Ant Falcon Man Brave New World is everything we feared it would be. A bloated, overblown, inconsistent mess. Anyway, I don't want to have to waste any more time talking about this than I have to, so without further ado...
Let's get this over quickly.
The movie centres around the fight for control of the Celestial that exploded out of the Indian Ocean in the Eternals. I mean, it's only taken them like 5 years to address this gigantic plot hole, but whatever. Better late than never, I guess. Anyway, because the Celestial's body contains enormous reserves of adamantium, a mineral which is even more invincible than vibranium. Oh, does someone not have a monopoly on the world's most valuable resource now? Pass me the world's smallest fucking violin. There's now a bit of a gold rush to claim ownership of it, spearheaded by General Ross, who's now been promoted to President of the United States. His goal is to sign an agreement with Japan to share access to the Celestial, and the two countries are close to making a deal. Unfortunately, it all goes tits up during a White House dinner when Isaiah Bradley gets an attack of the Galloping Crazies and tries to assassinate him, only to forget the whole thing after he's captured. Captain Black Ant Falcon Man believes that he was mind-controlled into attacking Ross, and he's determined to clear his name, so he begins his own investigation that soon leads him to a classified black site where he conveniently runs into Giant Brain Man, a test subject exposed to gamma radiation that caused him to get super smart, which Ross then exploited for his own personal gain. Oh yeah, and this small child shows up for like 5 minutes to give us the obligatory girl boss moment, and then basically does nothing for the rest of the movie. You've often heard me joke about petite actresses beating the shit out of guys twice their size, but in this case, it's literally true. If she's more than 5 feet tall and weighs more than 90 pounds, I would be fucking shocked. But don't worry, I'll talk more about her later. Believe that! Anyway, Giant Brain Man engineered the whole thing to provoke a war between America and Japan, and with the two opposing battle fleets closing in on the Celestial, Captain Black Ant Falcon Man races to the scene to stop them. Jesus, as if Japan would even think about challenging the US military for control of anything. So Captain Black Ant Falcon Man is able to defuse the situation by strategically kicking missiles out of the air, and then everyone goes home and Ross gives a speech to celebrate, but then it turns out that the heart attack pills he's been taking the whole movie are actually gamma radiation pills, which Giant Brain Man uses to turn him into Red Hulk.
Right.
And yes, I'm being absolutely serious with this. Then there's a bit of a fight which destroys the White House, and Captain Black Ant Falcon Man asks him to stop being the Hulk because the writers couldn't think of any other way to get out of it, so he turns back into Harrison Ford and then everyone goes home. And that's it, that's the plot for Captain Black Ant Falcon Man Brave New Worlds. You know, when I think about the tortuous production process this movie had, all the rewrites and reshoots that it went through, it's actually hard to imagine what Brave New World even started out as. I mean, the overall tone is vaguely in line with Winter Soldier. There was clearly an attempt to ground it in something resembling reality, with all the government conspiracies, classified projects, Black Ops missions, and the looming threat of global war. The problem is, it also has to work in ridiculous bullshit like the continent-sized Celestial sticking out of the ocean and the Red Hulk, and those elements go together about as well as intersectional feminism and reason, logic, and personal accountability. You can't take the themes and emotional tone of the Eternals and Winter Soldier and mash them together in one movie and expect it to make sense. And as always, the devil is definitely in the detail here. First up, there's the antagonist. Instead of an understandable villain trying to bring about world peace by eliminating everyone who could oppose his agenda, furthering the movie's central theme of security versus freedom in Winter Soldier, we've instead got just another generic supervillain out for revenge. His motives and ultimate goals are as bare bones as the withered husk that was once Ariana Grande, and as much as we're constantly told that he's some genius biological computer who knows what you're gonna do weeks before you do it, his actions in the movie absolutely don't bear bear this out. He's constantly proven wrong and outsmarted by Captain Black Ant Falcon Man, and by the end of the film he just kinda gives up and calls it a day. Again, the maxim that a character is only as smart as their writer remains undefeated. By all accounts, not only was this film reshot multiple times, but the runtime was also drastically cut back at the 11th hour, which probably explains why characters like Giant Brain Man get so little development. It's all been left on the cutting room floor. It's the same story with Giancarlo Esposito, who the trailers played up as some criminal mastermind that was going to test Captain Black Ant Falcon Man to his limits. In reality, he's just a basic bitch hired gun who appears in like 3 scenes, and watching a not particularly fit man in his mid-60s trying to hold his own in a fight against Anthony Mackie just made me feel embarrassed for both actors. Mackie himself does his best with the wildly inconsistent material he's got to work with. His basic character arc is similar to Falcon and the Winter Soldier, a man conflicted about who he's working for and unsure about whether he's the right guy for the job. In the hands of better writers, and assuming it hadn't already been done in a TV show already, the story of a successor struggling to fill the hole left by a legendary hero and find his own path forward might have made for a decent character arc. Here though, it just feels forced and repetitive, trying to manufacture a character conflict that's already been resolved, and loading him down with ridiculous levels of technology that can do almost anything makes him feel more like Iron Man than Captain America. Like, if you're going to turn him into something that doesn't even vaguely resemble the hero he's replacing, then why even call him Captain America in the first place? Then there's the small child pretending to be a secret agent whose name I totally forget because it's only mentioned like once in passing. A character who I guess once had a much bigger role in this film, kind of like Natasha in Winter Soldier, only definitely not as hot. But as it stands, I've got no idea how I'm supposed to feel about her because there's really nothing to like or dislike here. She barely even has any dialogue, never mind a personality or character arc, and if I was a cynical man, I'd say that her Israeli background might have had something to do with it. Likewise, the totally implausible David and Goliath war between America and Japan, when China would have been a much more plausible rival. But then again, we wouldn't want to offend one of Disney's biggest potential markets now, would we? And I guess that's the fundamental problem when your storytelling philosophy is basically, let's push whatever ideas are current, safe, focus group tested and politically correct. Sometimes the culture and the politics shift quicker than your films can catch up to them, and the more you scramble to rewrite and reshape them, the more you hollow out their artistic integrity until there's basically nothing left. And that's what Brave New World really is when you get right down to it. An empty shell, superficially big and bombastic, but with no real meaning or creative intent behind it, awkwardly stitched together out of pieces from other more successful films, and feeling like it's got no particular reason to exist. I get the impression that nobody's been especially excited for this one in the run-up to release, least of all Marvel themselves, and now that I've seen it, I can definitely understand why. Do yourself a favour, save the ridiculous ticket price and do something more rewarding with your time instead, like a giant turds.
Okay, you saw that. Now, of course, some of you are saying, oh, well, Captain America Brave New World is a brand new film. It's just out. And I'm thinking, yep. And yet, apparently, people at Marvel Studios, aka Disney, they've been having a lot of problems with this film. Yeah, in fact, according to the computer, this film was supposed to be a continuation of the TV, I should say, the damn Disney Plus show, Falcon and the Winter Soldier. I didn't actually watch it myself. I remember reading about it. And yet, they just had nothing but problems trying to get this damn film off the ground. Why? Ever heard the phrase, too many cooks spoil the broth? Well, you can say that about this film. Because they don't have not one, not two, but they have at least 5 people who worked on the screenplay. And those are the 5 people we know of. Yeah, that's right. Indeed, they actually hired another fella, Matthew Orton, to supposedly work on the screenplay after principal filming was finished. Why? For reshoots. And this was like 2 years ago. So right now you're probably thinking, so this thing had been gestating for a while. Oh yeah, it was. Indeed, according to the computer, they originally conceived this film back in April of 2021. And not only that, but they had a lot of problems with a lot of the actors in the film. Like, for example, William Hurt. And you say, William Hurt? Yeah, he's been around for a long time. I mean, but anyway, he was supposed to be in the film. Playing Thaddeus Ross. You know, a character had been reappearing over and over again since, I think, The Incredible Hulk. Yeah, he'd been playing the character all those years, but then he ended up dropping dead. So then they had to replace him with old Harrison Ford. And believe me, when I say old Harrison Ford, I ain't kidding. I mean, good grief. Is he like 90 now? Well, he looks it. Yeah, but anyway, as you saw in that video, what these damn people thought they were doing, I don't rightly know. Even though the computer says this was supposed to be part of Phase 5 of the MCU. And I'm thinking, Phase 5? Yeah. And I thought, didn't they have a Phase 4 somewhere in there? I guess we must have forgot about it. Yeah, dropped by the wayside. And yeah, as you saw in the Critical Drinker's video, man, this film, I think calling it hot garbage is being kind. Now, I'm not blaming Anthony Mackie. No. Anthony Mackie's actually a pretty decent actor. He's been around for a while. Indeed, I remember first seeing him in 8 Mile, and I think he also was in a few other films, but I think that was the first time I ever saw him in. I didn't know who he was at the time, but yeah, I remember him from that. But yeah, he's not a bad actor. It's just that these people who he's relying upon, I mean, like, yeah. And then, of course, as you saw in Critical Drinker's video, it seemed like these people didn't know what to do with the characters. I mean, if you saw, he complained about how characters were appearing and then disappearing willy-nilly. And I'm thinking, yeah, that's what happens when a film is constantly being edited and re-edited and re-edited. At a certain point, you pretty much forget where the pieces go. But from what I've been able to ascertain, and let me confess right off the top, I didn't watch this movie. I mean, what can I say? I didn't want to give Disney $25 without and buy a bunch of stale popcorn over there at the damn Chinese theater. Okay, I mean, I'm not saying it's a bad theater, or they have bad popcorn. Indeed, I remember going up there back in the 20th century. Actually, it's a pretty nice theater too. But considering a modern inflation, yeah, I didn't want to spend the money. But anyway, from what I was able to ascertain, reading on the computer about the synopsis of the film, there's a lot going on in this film. And a lot of it's a bit of a head scratcher. And indeed, as you heard in the Critical Thinker, for example, one of the plot lines has the United States and Japan fighting over the corpse of some leftover from the damn the what was it? I think it was the Eternals movie. I can't remember now. I think it was the Eternal movies. No, one of the damn giant space monsters, and how it was killed and the damn body was left in the damn ocean. But the thing was so big, it was almost like a little continent all by itself. But yeah, and of course, as Critical Thinker said in his video, the reason why they wrote that plot line is because they didn't want to make China the main villain. And you say, why? Are you kidding me? Have you been paying attention to the movies this last 20 years? Hollywood has been practically kissing the ass of the people in Beijing for years, saying, oh, please take our movie because our movies are such crap. Our own citizens don't watch them. Therefore, we can compel them to your ignorant Chinese folks. They'll just waste their money watching our hot garbage Hollywood films, please. Yeah. Anyone who's ever watched an episode of South Park knows the deal. Yeah. But yeah, it's kind of ignorant. I mean, knowing what I know, I mean, you would think that they would at least have picked, like Russia or at least Russia, since it seems like everyone in Hollywood hates them. But whatever. And then, of course, as you saw in Critical Thinker's video, when the big face-off between Red Hulk and the new Captain America happens, how does the fight end? By supposedly taking Ross out to the cherry blossoms over there in Washington, D.C., and of course, if you've ever been near the Jefferson Memorial, you see there's a whole bunch of cherry trees there. I don't know if they produce cherries or not, but anyway. And in order to remind the character of supposedly his daughter, that was played by Liv Tyler in the earlier Incredible Hulk film. Yeah, supposedly that was his daughter back when he was still a general, but yeah. In order to calm him down and get him out of his red rage, and you say, yeah, that sounds like a ridiculous plot point, and I'm thinking, But in the end, when you get right down to it, the question is, why? And only thing you can think of is that apparently it's a simple symptom of Hollywood. I mean, let's not pretend. When it comes to movies, Hollywood, all they care about is the money. That's it. That's all they ever cared about. And thanks to the MCU, they have made a lot of money. How much money? Well, that's kind of funny because Hollywood arithmetic is kind of weird. Because anyone who knows anything about Hollywood movies is that in order to make a profit, you have to make $3 for every $1 you put into a Hollywood film. Why? Honestly, I don't know. I just know that's the arithmetic. And in the case of these MCU films, let's not pretend, Disney's been making a lot of money off of them. However, the problem with Hollywood films is that when you start making sequels, it's basically an exercise in diminishing returns. And anyone who knows anything about Hollywood history knows this. I mean, every time Hollywood cranks out a good film, and let's not pretend, they do, when they start making sequels, it's just a steady downward spiral of quality. Anyone who saw the original Frankenstein movies can testify to that. And how about the old Planet of the Apes films? Yeah, the ones with Charlton Heston. Same thing. Or how about Halloween? How many people remember Halloween? Yeah. And over time, how long did it take for those Halloween sequels to get so totally unpalatable? Mm-hmm. And here we are with the MCU. Over time, they just kept cranking out movie after movie after movie with more and more diminishing returns. And yet, they won't stop. Why? I don't know. But the only thing you can say is that eventually they will have to stop. Why? Because anyone who knows anything about Hollywood sequels is that at a certain point it's just not worth to them anymore, and they just stop on their own. Sort of like a serial killer. Eventually a serial killer will get tired and they just stop killing people. And just like in those previous examples I just mentioned, yeah, over time, Universal got sick of making Frankenstein films. 20th Century Fox got sick of making Planet of the Apes films until the recent iteration, which I'm not going to get into. And the people who were making those damn Halloween films until they got sick of them and then just totally just kind of ground down to dust. Now, of course, you're saying, but didn't they just resurrected them with Jamie Lee Curtis? Yeah, they did. But of course, the funny thing about those films is that they had to totally recon the damn series. Or did you remember the previous series where they actually killed off Jamie Lee Curtis's character? Remember that? I remember that. And then someone said, oh, let's not have her get killed. Let's somehow make a whole new series, recon the character of, I can't remember the character, her name was Strode, and bring her back to life. Yeah. And now here we are at the MCU. And like I said, it's just a downward spiral. Now, of course, some of you out there like the MCU. Hey, where floats your boat? But people who are critical of the MCU, and more important, the people who are running it, right into the ground, I might add, these people need to stop. Seriously. I mean, did they really need to make this Captain America film? Especially when you consider the fact that the original Captain America, Steve Rogers, actually retired after only 3 films. And wait for it, Joe Mackey, he was playing a damn Falcon. And Falcon wasn't a bad character. They should have just kept making Falcon films. Until they probably end up becoming unwatchable. But yeah. And that was another problem with the damn film. With the woke politics infesting current Hollywood, someone thought it was a great idea to let's make Captain America a black man. Now, hey, I got no problem with that per se, but the way they did it was so cotton picking, ham-fisted that even the damn pig that they took the ham off of was screaming bloody murder. No joke. And then to add insult to injury, when he was doing a promotional tour in Europe, I think it was in Italy, Mackie had to open his big fat pie hole and proclaim that him playing Captain America doesn't represent America. And I'm thinking, are you fucking drunk? Are you fucking high? You're wearing the damn super suit with the damn stars and stripes all over. How can you not be not representing America? I mean, seriously, brother, you need help. Now, next question is this. the MCU is Marvel, aka Disney, going to make their money back on this film? I don't know, because according to the official budget, they spent $180 million, which means we can count what they call it, cost overruns. That price is probably actually 280 million. Yeah, 280 million. And therefore, if you do Hollywood arithmetic in your head, that means that Disney will need to make 3 times that amount just to break even. Now, some of you are saying, oh, they'll just put it on Disney Plus. Yeah. But too many people are whining about Disney Plus right now, them jacking up the rates and adding commercials. And I'm thinking, yeah, well, if you wanted basic cable, just get basic cable. But whatever. So yeah, you do that arithmetic in your head, that means they're going to have to make close to about, about 850 million minimum just to break even. Yeah, I think my arithmetic's about right. Yeah, 280 million times 3. Yeah, about $850 million. Yeah. Will they do it? I'm not betting any money on that. Now the question is, are they going to make another Captain America film after this one? I don't know. But if they give Captain America, or more importantly, Captain America played by old Mackie, a nice quiet death like they did the Marvels film, I think that would probably be very merciful. Just saying. Well, that's all I gotta say about this new Marvel Cinematic Universe movie. And God help us if they make another one after this one. And that's my opinion.